Wonders of France. Discover castles, vineyards, and Riviera shores. France is often imagined as elegant streets, good wine, and iconic landmarks, but that image barely hints at how layered this country really is. France is a place where medieval stone castles coexist with high-speed trains, where vineyards follow hills shaped by centuries of patience, and where coastlines shift from wild cliffs to calm blue shores. It is not just beautiful, it is intentional. Every village, every road, and every tradition feels shaped by time rather than trend. And what makes France truly special is that no matter how familiar it seems, it always reveals something unexpected once you slow down and look closer. Paris does not need to announce itself. It simply exists with quiet confidence. The city unfolds in layers, grand boulevards, opening into narrow streets that feel personal and lived in. The Eiffel Tower rises above it all, not as a centerpiece demanding attention, but as a constant presence woven into everyday life. Cafes spill onto sidewalks, museums hide world-changing art behind modest doors, and bridges frame the river like scenes from a film. Paris feels romantic, not because it tries to be, but because it allows moments to breathe. It is a city that rewards observation more than speed. Loire Valley. The Loire Valley feels like a landscape shaped by imagination and ambition. Rolling countryside stretches between riverside towns, each anchored by castles that once symbolized power, wealth, and artistic taste. These chateaux are not ruins. They are preserved statements of how seriously beauty was once taken. Some feel grand and theatrical, others intimate and elegant, surrounded by gardens designed with mathematical precision. What makes the Loire Valley special is how calm it feels despite its history. It invites you to wander rather than rush, to appreciate detail rather than spectacle. Mont Saint-Michel. Mont Saint-Michel rises from the sea like a vision that refuses to explain itself. At high tide, it appears completely isolated, surrounded by water that reflects the sky. At low tide, the land reveals itself slowly, reconnecting the island to the mainland. The abbey at the top feels both fortified and spiritual, built upward as if reaching for something beyond the horizon. Walking through its narrow streets feels like moving through time rather than space. Mont Saint-Michel reminds you that geography and belief often shape each other in remarkable ways. Provence. Provence feels sun-drenched and grounded at the same time. Lavender fields stretch toward the horizon, filling the air with a scent that feels almost unreal. Stone villages sit quietly on hills, shaped by centuries of heat, wind, and routine. Markets overflow with color, not arranged for show, but for daily life. Provence is not dramatic. It is comforting. It shows how beauty can exist in repetition, in seasonal rhythms, and in landscapes that feel familiar even on first encounter. French Riviera. The French Riviera balances glamour with natural elegance. The coastline curves gently along the Mediterranean, revealing beaches, cliffs, and towns that seem permanently bathed in light. Cities like Nice and Cannes feel lively without being overwhelming, shaped by both leisure and culture. Inland villages offer quiet contrast, perched above the sea with views that feel almost too perfect. What makes the Riviera compelling is not luxury alone, but how effortlessly life seems to flow here. It feels designed for enjoyment without urgency. Bordeaux feels measured and refined, shaped by centuries of trade and craftsmanship. Vineyards spread outward from the city, forming one of the most famous wine regions in the world. The city itself reflects balance, elegant architecture lining the river in calm symmetry. Wine here is not treated as a luxury, it is treated as culture. What stands out is the patience behind it all, vineyards that take generations to reach their peak. Bordeaux teaches that excellence often comes from restraint rather than excess. Normandy feels grounded and quietly powerful. Its coastline shifts from soft beaches to dramatic cliffs, shaped by constant wind and water. Inland, farmland stretches across gentle hills, dotted with villages that feel deeply rooted. History runs strong here, but it does not dominate the landscape. The region feels reflective rather than heavy. Normandy shows how places can carry deep significance while still feeling peaceful and open. Alsace. Alsace feels like a meeting point between cultures. Timber-framed houses line canals and narrow streets, painted in colors that feel deliberately cheerful. Vineyards climb nearby hills, producing wines distinct from the rest of France. The region carries influences that feel blended rather than divided. What makes Alsace unique is its warmth, both in architecture and atmosphere. It feels like a place that values comfort as much as character. Burgundy. Burgundy feels serious about tradition in the best possible way. Vineyards are treated with respect bordering on devotion, divided into plots defined centuries ago. Towns here move slowly, centered around food, wine, and conversation. Burgundy does not try to impress quickly. It asks you to stay, to taste, and to listen. The region proves that depth often reveals itself only to those willing to wait. Carcassonne. Carcassonne looks like a storybook illustration brought to life. Its double walls and towers rise sharply from the surrounding landscape, perfectly preserved in form and presence. Walking through the fortress feels immersive, like stepping into a medieval vision that refused to fade. The scale is impressive, but the detail is what holds attention. Carcassonne reminds you how architecture can shape imagination long after its original purpose has passed. Chamonix and Mont Blanc. Chamonix sits at the base of Mont Blanc, surrounded by peaks that dominate the skyline. The mountains feel immense and constant, shaping life in the valley below. This is a place where nature sets the pace, and people adapt accordingly. Views change with light and weather, turning familiar scenes into something new daily. Chamonix shows a side of France that feels wild, vast, and deeply connected to the natural world. Corsica feels independent in spirit and landscape. Mountains rise sharply from the sea, creating dramatic contrast between coast and interior. Beaches feel untouched, while inland villages preserve traditions that feel fiercely local. The island carries a strong identity shaped by geography and history. Corsica does not blend easily into expectations. It feels like a place that stands on its own terms. Lyon feels quietly confident, shaped by rivers, cuisine, and commerce. Often overlooked, it holds a cultural depth that reveals itself slowly. The old town winds through narrow streets, while modern districts reflect contemporary life. Food here is treated seriously, not as trend, but as craft. Lyon balances innovation with tradition in a way that feels natural. It is a city that rewards curiosity. France is not a single experience. It is a collection of regions that speak different languages of landscape, culture, and time. Each place leaves its own impression, subtle or bold, but always lasting. If this journey through France sparked something in you, support the channel by liking the video, subscribing, and sharing it with someone who loves discovering the world beyond the obvious. Let me know which place stayed with you the longest, because that is often the one worth exploring first.